Early holiday savings have arrived at Tanger Outlets. Discover the best gifts from your favorite brands, perfect for everyone on your list. And stack your savings with up to 70% off, plus an extra 15 to 25% off only during Tanger Style. Save at Polo Ralph Lauren, Old Navy Outlet, Under Armour, Skechers, J. Crew Factory, and more. Hurry in. These early holiday deals last through November 24th. Tanger Outlets. More savings, more cheer.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to and during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door, your running's over, that's for sure. He already knows all about you. Cut you down, no matter by you. Now you better walk the line. Real life, real
Warning, this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, may contain descriptions of acts of violence or that of a sexual nature and should be for people that are 18 years or older. Heed my warning, people. I do not get the facts of these cases off of the internet or from some television show. The facts I'm retelling you were presented to me by the victims of the crimes or the perpetrators who committed the crimes against the victims. My descriptions of the crime scenes, what I saw with my own two eyes. If you're going to get offended, please turn this podcast off now. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Woody Overton. Today, we're telling you another OG, old school story on the podcast, and stay tuned at the end of today's show for more Real Life, Real Crime announcements. And I just want to give a quick shout out to all our subscribers, Patreon and Convicts, and subscribers through Apple. Love and appreciate each and every one of y'all. And to all you listeners, and especially all you new lifers out there, thank you for keeping us at the top of the charts. So let's get started. I'm going to name today's episode In the Beginning. So I'm going to take you way back to end of May 2000, I think it was. I had transferred from the Southeastern Louisiana University Police Department to the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. And I'd been there probably a week or so. And the hiring process, y'all, I had to go through the psych examination and drug screen and a lot of detector tests and all that stuff, and got hired on, and I had to do a little ride along, if you will, for just like 3 nights with somebody, another deputy, and I think 1 day, so maybe 4 days of ride along total, and before they gave me my own blue and white, which is an affectionate term we call it for our units, and all my equipment and my firearm and all that. And on this date, I was about to go 10-8 or on duty for the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office for the first time at 6 p.m. that night. Now, let me back up for a second. One of the things I had to do, one of the final things I had to do before they turned me loose on the road was I had to qualify with my duty weapon, okay? And I was so new to the sheriff's office, I had just gotten hired, that I was still actually living in Tangipahoa Parish and not Livingston Parish. And I'm talking about going to work for Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office. So on the same day that they were turning me loose on my own on duty that night at 6 p.m., I had to go to the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office training center or the firing range and qualify for my weapon. Now, Sheriff Willie Graves was big on being able to shoot well. Okay, he was a firearms old school firearms instructor, if you will, and everybody else, all the departments in Louisiana, you have to qualify for your duty weapon one time a year. It's called the post course, and I'll explain that in a minute. Well, Sheriff Graves made you qualify 2 times a year, and you had to shoot a minimum score or they took your weapon away from you. So I was to report to the range that day, even though I was going on duty that night. And I think I had to be there for like noon. And I get there, and the range or the training center is next to the waste dump off of Highway 190 in Livingston Parish. And you pull up, and it's this big, long, I guess they're trailers, but it looks like metal buildings, and it's a big gravel parking lot. And I pull up, and it is slap ass full of units, okay? Unmarked units, marked units, etc. So what it was is this was one of the 3 days they were doing that week for qualifications for everybody in the department. Even the jail people who worked extra duty shifts had to qualify with their weapon. So I get there, and I don't know anybody, all right? And I haven't fired my weapon since the academy, like the year before. In the post course, it's really involved. You have to, you go to the 25-yard line first, and you shoot, and then you 18 rounds, and then you move forward, et cetera. It's a total of 60 rounds altogether, and the highest score you can shoot is a 120, and the lowest score you can shoot to qualify, I think is like a 98. So anyway, I walk up. I don't know anybody. There's like 50, 60 more people out there, and they all grew up together, or they're all from Livingston Parish, and there's a bunch of firearms instructors who are in their woolly blue color rain shirts and BDUs, and firearms instructors generally are assholes. And I didn't know any of them at this time. I mean, I didn't know anybody there, y'all. I reported, and I said, hey, I'm here to qualify. And they said, go out there and get you a target and staple it up and write your name on it and your weapon classification on top of it, et cetera. And so I'll go out there, and these people are all bullshitting with each other and they're staring at me, and who's this new guy? I mean, maybe I had met a couple of them in passing in the past 3 or 4 days that I've been riding, but I didn't know anybody, right? And it's hot. Let me tell you this. It's the end of May, past Labor Day, and it was hotter than fuck. I mean, like, I don't know, 95 degrees plus the humidity. And so I'm out there. I'm nervous. I mean, every time I'd qualify, I'd get nervous, even though I was a great shot later on. Again, I hadn't fired this post course, and there's a lot of steps to it. And hey, it's a lot of pressure. You don't qualify, you don't go 10-8, right? I mean, they take your weapon from you. So I get out there, and you walk up past the metal buildings. It's a gravel parking lot, and then you come onto the cement, and it's a big, long, covered overhang. And to the left is the ammunition room, and the targets are these probably, I don't know, 5.5, 6 feet tall, and it's a wooden frame, and you stapled your target to the wooden frame. Now the targets, or it's a silhouette of it, I guess, a human with the head and the shoulders, and it comes all the way down to the midsection. And inside the target, it's dark green everywhere the body is. And inside that target is a ring. And how they scored it was, if you hit inside the ring, you got 2 points for each round that hit. And if you hit anywhere in the green, you got 1 point. If you hit anywhere outside of that, you got no points, okay? So they call for, everybody to get on the firing line. There's 25 spots on the firing line, y'all. And when you walk down the firing line, there's a cement path down the middle. And there's, at the 25-yard line, there's a pad that runs to the left and a pad that runs to the right. And, so the fire line is divided and spread out. And on that pad, that it's cement, okay? And it's grass until the next firing position, which I think was like the 12 or 15-yard line. And it had another cement thing. As you move forward, the course was broken up in different firing sections, okay? And you had to move forward. But at the very end, the 25 yards away, is the big back berm where you mounted your targets. So they said, bring your targets down the line. And so I went down and I was like the 17th place, the spot. It was an open spot. I had to go down there and stand your target up in this little metal thing. It's a metal thing that's on an air system where your target, when you start, they turn it away from you and it makes that sound, right? So you get on the 25-yard line and they have a barricade. Now, the barricade really is just a metal pole that comes up with this wooden thing, probably 12 inches wide, that runs taller than you. And of course, you have to have on shooting glasses and earmuffs, right? So you get out on the line, it's hotter than fuck, sun's beating down, and I'm on my position. I already hung my target, and I'm waiting, right? So I'm standing behind a barricade. Now, the first stage of the post-certification course, you stand back behind your barricade, your hand, what they call the interview position, your hands together, kind of almost steepled in front of you, and one foot in front of the other. That's the bladed position. And they come out on the firing line, and they say, firing line ready on the right. It's on the big loudspeaker. Firing line. And so you have the firearms instructors are standing behind you, all spread down the line. Safety is a big, big fucking deal. Okay. So they say firing line ready on your right, firing line, and they wave, yeah. Firing line ready on your left, they wave, yeah. And they say, all right, shooters assume the position, and the line is hot. Boom, and then the target's turn. Now, from the 25-yard line, when the target turns, you draw your weapon, you move forward to the barricade, and you give loud verbal commands. Sheriff's office, don't move. And then you have to shoot from that position. You have to shoot a total of 18 rounds, but you have to shoot 6 to the right side of the barricade standing, right? So you lean around, like in case using it as cover. You lean around, you're looking at your target 25 yards. You have to shoot 6 rounds standing. Then you drop down to your knee, same side of the barricade. You shoot 6 rounds kneeling. And then you have to stand up and shoot 6 rounds to the left side of the barricade or offhand, right? For a total of 18 rounds. Now, during that position, you have to have one mandatory reload, okay? Your weapon, we were shooting Berettas, the 96 FSs, and your weapon held 16 rounds plus 1 in the chamber, so you couldn't get 18 rounds anyway. You had to do a mandatory reload, and they gave you 30 seconds to complete this task. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot of time, but it is a eternity. You really could take your time and concentrate on what they call the front sight picture, lining your target up and all that. So anyway, they give the command. Firing line's hot. Boom. They turn the target. I draw my weapon. Now heart's pounding in my chest, right? Go offside barricade. Sheriff's office, don't move. Boom, 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 boom. I realize I'm shooting fast, but it's okay. My target's good. I know I'm a good shot. Boom. I do my 6. Drop down to my knee. Boom, 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 boom. 6 more. And while on the knee position, I press my magazine release, let it drop to the ground without looking at it, pull another one out of my duty belt, which, you know, you had on your magazine, or most people call it clips, but they're called magazines, but were to my, if I'm looking down, it would be to the left of my front right pocket. So I'll pull out another magazine, slam it in. Now, when you do that, you never take your weapon off the target. So if you're in a gunfight, you never want to take your weapon sight off the target. So I'm drop the magazine, reach down without looking, slam another one home, and I stand up and go for my 6 offhand or to the left side of barricade, right? And I'm shooting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But then so I would have been complete, but I'm like, fuck. I don't think I shot enough. I think I miscounted, right? Because I was so excited and nervous and sweating and hot and heart's pounding, and I wasn't really used to shooting the post course at the time. But I'm like, I think I need miscounted. I think I need to shoot one more. So I shot one more time, right? Then I stand up, holster my weapon, and step to the back of the firing line. People are still firing. I mean, I got done in like probably 20 seconds. And so I stepped back to the end of the firing line, and they wait till everybody gets done firing. And they say, the firing line safe on the left, firing line safe on the right. All right, shooters, pick up your, move forward, pick up your magazine and reload. Okay. Meanwhile, when they do that, all the firearms instructors go down to the targets and they score the first 16 shots. Now, they're not really scoring it per se for the total score. What they were looking for is to if you have any that are outside the green, they mark those, and then they take a black marker slide, and over every hole that you have inside the green, they put a black line over it. So they know, they count your total shots, and they know what you have at the end. The next time they score will be at the end of the 60 rounds and the other 42 rounds you're about to shoot. So they go down there and they're counting it, and they're going down the line, and they're counting each one. They're doing the little marks, and they get to mine, and the guy's going through it, and I see him counting, and he looks, and I see him count again, and he called another firearms instructor. I'm like, fuck. And then, I mean, not only do I have all these people I don't know on the firing line with me, I got all these people behind me watching me that are waiting there for their turn to go. And they call a third firearms instructor over to my target, and they count it, and they read the name, and they say, Overton. Who the fuck is Overton? Overton. I said, it's me. Get down here. And I had to run down there in front of all those people, and I got in front of my target, and they said, you shot too many times. You shot 17 times. Get this target, get off my firing range, and go see Mike Ziegler in the office. Now, y'all, Mike Ziegler, he's deceased. He was an OG badass dude, okay? And he was over the firing range and training center at that time, and he's just one of the best guys in the world, but I didn't know him. I mean, I'd get to know him in the years to come. So I was about to cry. And I mean, all these people are staring at me, and, I've made an ass of myself. I shot one too many times. I'm like, fuck, all my shit was in the green, but I had one too many rounds. I just miscounted, right? So I'm sick to my stomach. I have to carry this target off the range. I had to go to Mike's office and walk in, and he said, can I help you? I said, yeah, I shot one too many times, and they told me to come see. He said, give me your weapon. So I unholstered my weapon, and he said, safe, and I dropped the magazine. I cleared it for him. I gave it to him. He said, you can go home. And I was like, well, I'm supposed to go 10-8 tonight. For the first time, he said, you can go home. You don't go 10-8, shooting too many times on my range. I was like, fuck. Now, I was still living, I told you, I think, in Tangipahoa Parish. I mean, I was so new, I hadn't even got a place to live in some parish yet, not being from here and all that. But I had just picked up my unit that morning before. I forgot to tell you that morning before I went to the range, I just got my unit. Boy, I was so proud of it. I was so ready to go 10-8 or on duty by myself. And Mike said, you have a ride home? I said, no, all I got is my unit. He said, well, you take your unit to the, home and you got to see the sheriff tomorrow. I was like, I was sick, y'all. I almost cried. So it took me about 40 minutes to get from the range all the way into Tangipahoa Parish to Independence, where I was living. And I had a 1-bedroom apartment. I was a single dad at the time. But, I was split custody with my now ex-wife. And I was absolutely ill, okay, driving back to the place and, probably cried like a little bitch. And I was just sick about it. I had been so excited about going 10-8 on my own that night and all that. And we didn't have cell phones, y'all. So it takes about 40 minutes to get back to Independence, where my apartment was. I get out and I'm walking in my apartment and I hear the phone ring. Now, we had landlines back then, right? And so I answer the phone, and not many people had that number. And I answer the phone, and it was Mike Ziegler from the range. He said, Woody. I said, yes, sir. He says, Mike. I said, yes, sir. He said, come back to the range. I need to see you. I said, okay. So now I'm nervous. I'm thinking they're going to take the car. They're going to give me a ride home. I'm not going to get the job, whatever. Drive almost another hour back to the range, and I pull up. People are still qualifying in line. I hear all the shooting going on. But Mike's office, when you pull up, Mike's office was the first door on your right. You go up the little staircase and go through the door. There was an office to the left, the assistant range commander, and Mike's was to the right. That's where I turned in my weapon. And I walk in, and he said, I'm going to give you your duty weapon back. He said, I called the sheriff, being Sheriff Grace. He said, I called the sheriff and told him you shot too many times. And he said, he's going to give you another chance. You come back tomorrow and re-qualify or attempt to re-qualify with the next group. He said, but take your weapon and you go 10-8 tonight like you're supposed to. They need you on the street. I was like, oh my God, thank you, Jesus. Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of an LSU Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdowns scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Hey ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore, because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone support and supplement. It's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC. Right. So then I left there and I had to drive back to Independence to get ready to go 10-8. Now, I've had no sleep. I was nervous about that whole day to begin with. And I was excited about getting my unit and all that stuff, my police car. So I drove back to Independence, and I get dressed. I put on my uniform. We went 10-8. I went about 5:45 on the radio, right? And it was about that time. So I get back there, I take a shower. I put on my uniform. Let me tell you about that. The uniform was like polyester on top, a grayish blue, and you had to put your badge on and your LPSO lapels on your collar, and then you tuck that into your pants, and they were black with like that same color as the top shirts, stripes down the pants, and then had before you put on the shirt, I had on an undershirt, and you had to put it on your heavy ass vest. And the vest was hot as fuck too, but it saves lives, right? And you put that on, then you put your what they call your retainer belt on your pants, and then your gun belt goes on top of that. And on the gun belt, you've got the 2 magazines in the front, like I told you about. I'm touching with my front right hand. On the front left hand is where your Freeze Plus P is. In the back of there, on the back side, I had 2 pairs of handcuffs. What else? Oh, my radio was attached to it, and you had the shoulder mic that attached to like a lapel collar on your shoulder. And you had your ASP, or your expandable baton, on the right hand side behind my pistol, which was on my right hand side. There's a reason I'm telling you all this. So by the time I get back and shower and get dressed, and my boots were shined, and I'm ready to go. I'm so thankful that the sheriff didn't fire me or whatever, right? So I call 10-8. And I said 361-259-361. Y'all was my unit number and my call sign. And I said 361-259. They said, go ahead, 61. And I said, I'm 10-8. Good evening. And they said, good evening. And Danny Gomez was my shift supervisor, and I had talked to him that day. He says, you're going to be 10-8 on the east side of the parish. And for all you new listeners that hadn't heard the old stories, Livingston Parish was divided into 2 sides for law enforcement reasons geographically. You had the west side, which is like Walker and Denham Springs, the more populated side. And then you had the east side, which was huge. And from basically the town of Livingston, or maybe like Satsuma or Coyell, all the way to the Tangier Parish line, past Albany. So I'm coming back into the parish, and I'm 10-8, and I'm rolling through the town of Albany. I'll never forget this. I hear we had 2 different TAC radios. TAC 1 was for the west side, and TAC 2 was for the east side, and I'm on TAC 2. And I hear somebody say, AP4, 259. I'm out with white male subject, check 17Fs or warrants on this, and he gave the guy's name. I'm not going to say it. And we had would end up having a long history with this family. So then I heard he said that like M&J's or something at the store, and I'm like, that's a store right up here in Albany. So I'm going to slide by and see what I can see. And I'm pulling up on Highway 43, and I see the Albany Town Unit Albany Police Department Town Unit, and I see it. I wouldn't call him an elderly gentleman. He probably wasn't even my age that I am now, but I see this guy. He's about 6 feet tall, gray hair, glasses, and he's in an Albany Town uniform. And I see him almost underneath the overhang of the store, talking to this white male he was a younger guy, and he's all swole up. He had a wife beater shirt on, and I see him talking to him. So I just called. I said, 361-259, I'm going to be out at AP4. And I get out, and turns out the officer's name was Leon Winstead. Now, y'all have heard me talk about Leon and on duty on the 4th, and which is the east side, and a whole bunch of episodes. And Leon and I would end up being best friends. And I had the privilege of being the best man in his wedding to Miss Flo, who's a beautiful sweetheart, and later on, y'all. And unfortunately, when COVID happened, Leon passed with complications of COVID, and that was the first eulogy I ever gave. But back to that day, I get out, and Leon's talking to this guy, and the guy's mouthing off, fuck you. And they call back. He had called to check 17Fs or warrants, and they call back and said, AP4, are you 1012, which means, can the bad guy hear you? And he said, go ahead. And they call back and said, yeah, he's got a warrant for whatever. And as soon as they did that, the dude tried to take off. Leon jumped on him, and it was fist fight was on. And so I dove in with him, and we were starting to swing. Well, this guy's brother was standing there, and his whole fucking family was standing there, and the brother ended up jumping in. It was just a big fucking melee, and we called for backup and everything. But we're fist fighting on the ground. First time I ever met him, rolling in the dirt, and another unit showed up and jumped in. Or I think Jimmy Jones, who was the chief of Springfield, and another backup Albany unit showed up, and long story short, we sprayed them, and we fought them, and we got them handcuffed and put both of the brothers under arrest. And we're getting up, and the family members had showed up, and they had this big ass, just to tell you how long ago it was, big ass camcorder on their shoulder that ran off like a VHS tape. Like it looks like, what TV cameras would look like nowadays. And they were filming and they were cussing us the whole time, blah, 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 whatever. So, it started raining too, and the fucking bottom fell out. And, like one of those South Louisiana afternoon thunderstorms. And just rained for like 15 minutes, just enough to get you wet and make it more humid than it already is. But long story short, we got them put, Liam got them put in AP units, and they took them to jail, what have you, right? So I'm now wet, I'm sweaty, and been in my first fight and the first 10 minutes on duty and the freeze and all that. So, but I go 10-8. I said 361-259, 10-8 back in service. And they said 361, you've got a animal complaint and on an address, and they gave me, and y'all, I'm not going to say the lady's name because I don't know if she's alive or anything, and you'll understand why in a minute. She said, you have an animal complaint south on 22, south of Killian, at such and such house. We'll call it Miss Mary. At Miss Mary's house. And I said 10-4. Now, we didn't have computers, y'all, in the car or anything. We didn't have GPSs. This is how long ago it was. I had a map book. It was an orange map book, and you could look up the street and look up addresses, and by turning the pages, you look up an index and you turn the pages. But I knew where that section of Highway 22 was. I said 10-4, I'll be en route. And as soon as I did that, the other unit that was 10-8 with me or on duty with me on that side of the parish he had been running, was John T. Wilkerson. He had been running catching calls anyway. And John T. and I went to the academy together, and he had worked for the Springfield Police Department, the town of, before, and he had just transferred to Livingston like I had. But he had the advantage because he was from there, right? And he knew all these streets, knew all these people, and he had been working as assistant chief for Springfield. And they would always, the town units would always back us up, especially on the east side, because it was so spread out. And most time, that's the closest guy that you had to back you up was a town unit. And I don't know where he was. He was somewhere north of me. But when he heard where I was going, he said, 339, 361. I said, go ahead. He said, 103M. And I said, okay, 10-4. Which meant, y'all, that as police jargon for the person that you're going to be dealing with is a mental case, all right? Has history of just being crazy. So it takes me about 15, 20 minutes. I'm driving down. It's really rural and in the stretch. And I called back and said, 259, what's the nature of the animal complaint? And they said, you'll see when you get there. And I was like, great. So anyway, pulling this driveway, I saw the numbers on the mailbox, pulling this long driveway. And now there's no neighbors. There's like a horse pasture to the right. It's a pretty big piece of property. And yet the driveway was maybe 100 yards long. Pulling up, there's big trees in the yard. Anyway, so I pull up directly in front of where the door would be, and there was a truck parked to my left, but not just a little. If you're facing the door, I'd be a little bit to the left. And I call in, I said, 259, I'm 1097. Meaning on location, right? So when you do that, they start your time. See, when they get a call, they get the time the call that was called in. Then you call in when you're on location. Then they start your clock, right? And then when you end up the call, they give you a file number and they give you your times, what time you arrived, what time you left. So, and that all goes in your report. So anyway, I pull up and I'm going to get out of my car and I didn't see anyone. I didn't hear anything. And then all of a sudden, the front door just flew open. It's like a log home, it's not a mobile home, but like a log cabin type home, single story. But the porch was raised. Front door flies open. Now, that's maybe 30 yards away from me. And my unit was parked. When I got out, I was getting out of the car, and the front door flew open. I was still standing in the doorway of my car. Right, I hadn't even cleared it, but the door flies open, and this little 5'1", 100-pound soaking wet lady. I won't call her an old lady, but she had gray hair, and she probably, again, this is my age now, but she comes running out, and guess what? She's got a shotgun. And she's screaming and hollering, motherfucker, I don't know who you are, motherfucker. And I'm like, holy fuck. So I draw my weapon and I crouch down behind my door and I said, drop the gun. And she's like, fuck you. And she's waving it around. She's not like aiming it at me, but she's waving around back and forth like in front of you. And said, I hit my shoulder mic. I said, gun. She's got a gun. And then they say, Tammy Forbes was a dispatcher, and she's deceased now. God rest her soul, Tammy. She was one of the best. And I said, gun. And then I'm telling her drop the shotgun. She said, fuck you. I don't know who you are. I'm the lady, drop the gun. I said, I'm going to have to shoot you. I said, drop the fucking gun. And so Tammy calls out when I had said gun. She called out and said, all units, 1033 the net, 361 is at basically, we'll say Miss Mary's house. Miss Mary's house, and she's got a shotgun. And so that means nobody can talk, right? And because the net and the radio is now shut down because in case I have to scream something in an emergency, you don't want other people the bullshitting about this or that or calling something in. So everybody else has to swap to a different net now, but everybody that heard me say gun is listening in. And then the 330 John T did say 39's en route. Had some other town units, et cetera, saying they were en route. So I'm back to the situation. Now I'm down on a knee. I'm in the crack in the V of my door, and I got my hands pointed out to y'all. And I'm about to squeeze the trigger on this bitch. And I'm like, put the fucking gun down. She said, fuck you. I don't know who you are. Get the fuck off my property. And I'm like, if you point that shotgun at me, I swear to God, I'm going to blow your fucking brains out. And so it's going. Now, I've been a cop. I've been post-certified for like a year and a half, and this is the first time I had to draw my weapon on someone who was holding a weapon. And I really thought I was going to have to shoot her. And then I heard the phone ringing inside our house, and she turned around. She went back inside, and Tammy came on. She said 361. We're trying to make contact with her again now, with Miss Mary again now. And so she goes back inside. And I'm like, I called in. I said, she just went back in residence with the shotgun. She went back in residence with the shotgun and said, Tammy said, we're getting her on the phone now. And then I could hear, her hollering inside or whatever. And then she came back to the door. And as she was coming out the door, Tammy said, 361, she's coming back outside. She says she's putting up the shotgun. And now I didn't know this lady was like the most frequent flyer, crazy woman on that side of the parish, right? I mean, this is my first night on duty by myself. And so, look, shit, I still got my pistol drawn. And she comes outside and she said, I put my fucking shotgun up. And she's coming down the steps. I said, you should keep your hands up where I can see you. I said, stop right there. She said, that's my motherfucking place. You're here to help me with Buttercup. And it's my place. I said, keep your hands up. I said, now turn around slowly so I can see that you don't have any weapons. And y'all, she had on like short shorts, and you would call it a wife beater shirt, but just sleeveless tank top, we'll call that. And she turned around. I could see that she didn't have any weapons. And then I said, come forward to the hood of my car. She's like, this is my fucking house. I told you I put the gun up, blah, blah, blah. And so I came around the door. I still had my weapon on her. And I said, put your hands on the hood of the car. And she's like, I'm not putting I said, put your hands on the hood of the car. She for officer safety, and she put them on there. And I pat frisked her real quick. She's screaming and cursing and calling me everything but a child of God. And I holstered my weapon, and I called in. I said, 259. 361's code 4, 1064 to net. And so they did it, right? And I mean, they called everybody else off basically. And I'm trying to defuse the situation. And I said, Miss Mary, that's your name, right? She said, yeah, that's my fucking name. And, she had a mouth like a sailor. Oh, you think I can cuss? And I'm looking at her face to face. I said, listen, we got off on the wrong foot. I said, I don't know you. She said, you damn right you don't know me, and I don't know you. I know every deputy who works out here, and I know Willie Gray's the sheriff, and I know Kearney Foster. I know every one of them sons of bitches, and you wasn't one of them, and I think you impersonating, but they told me you were a new hire. I said, yes, ma'am, I am. And you have to understand, you came out with a shotgun and you're waving around. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's happening. She said, I don't give a fuck about that. I need you to help me with Buttercup. I said, okay. And so I got out my little notepad and I said, and what's your name? And she said, you know my name. I said, just please give me your full name for your report. She said, I don't want the report right now. You got me Buttercup. I said, man, I got to take my report. So she got the full name. I got her phone number, or I had the address. And I said, okay, what's going on? Tell me what's happening. She said, these motherfuckers been fucking with Buttercup. And I said, who is Buttercup? And she said, Buttercup's my horse in the field over there. And I said, okay, what are they doing? She said, they're coming on my property and they're assaulting Buttercup. And I said, okay. She said, Cole, you come with me now, and I'm going to show you. I'm like, fuck. And it's hot, y'all. And my heart had been racing, and I thought I was going to get shot. And, I'd already been in a fight with Leon, with those brothers and everything. And here I am, first time 10-8 by myself. And I'm trying to placate the lady because I almost killed her. And she said, come on, walk with me. And so we walked across her long yard, and it really wasn't well kept. But we get to the horse pasture, and there's a big gate. And she said, you shut the gate behind you. And she opened and kicked it open, and I shut it behind me. And I'm looking at this field. It's probably like a 3-acre field, y'all. And there's 2 horses. One was brown and one was like a golden color to her left in this field. Now, this field, the grass was like, I guess like knee high, and that tall, it's not like thick grass, but like the weed grass that comes up and has the stuff on the top of it with the little black stuff that comes off. And I said, okay, but what's the deal? She said, what are you going to show me? She said, we got to go across the field. And she pointed to the other side. I'm like, fuck, it's hot. And it had rained earlier, and it's steamy, and I'm sweating, and, you know, still all jacked up from drawing down on this lady and everything. She's just cussing. These motherfuckers keep coming in and messing with my animals, and da-da-da-da. I'm going to bring you over here and show you where they're coming in, and you're going to help me with Buttercup, and you're going to look at Buttercup. I said, okay, that's fine. Let's go see. So we walk across this now wet grass, and so the bottom of my pants are, thigh high or soaked because the grass is wet. Get across the other side. There's another gate on the other side. She said, this is where they're coming in at. This is where they're coming in at. I want you to see. Well, y'all, I'm looking down. I'm looking at the gate, and the grass is wet, and I'm looking outside the gate, and I don't see shit. I'm like, Miss Mary, what am I looking at? She said, that's where they come out. You could see the trail. They've been coming in here every night. I said, I don't see anything. She said, you just don't want to help me. I said, okay, Miss Mary. I'm looking at your grass. Okay, what's the deal? You say they're coming in here, and tell me what the deal is. She said, I'm gonna show you the deal. She said, come on, and I proceeded to follow her across the field to where the 2 horses were. Now the horses were standing over by like a feed trough thing and a water trough thing, and the lighter color brown, almost a golden color one. She said, this is Buttercup. This is Buttercup. She said, my baby Buttercup. And she's, where she's petting and rubbing on it. And I'm behind her, and I got up to her, and I said, okay, what's the deal? I'm looking at it. It looks like a fucking regular horse to me, right? She said, they've been coming in here and raping Buttercup. I'm like, what? She said, they've been raping Buttercup. And you saw where they've been coming in the gate, and they raped her. I'm like, how do you know Buttercup's been raped? She said, I'm going to show you. And she's patting Buttercup now on the back, and she grabbed Buttercup's tail, and she lifted it out of the way. And, fuck, I'm not a veterinarian, right? She said, look at it. Look at her vagina. Look at her vagina. You could see they raped her, and they raped her, and they came in her. I was like, oh my God. Now, by this time, y'all, John T had showed up. I forgot to tell you that. And he's walking up across the field, and I waved him over, and he's shaking her head. She's madder than a fucking wet hen, and she's got the tail lifted aside. She's trying to show me this horse's rear end, which I wouldn't know a vagina from an asshole on a horse, right? And he walks up, and he said, hey, Miss Mary. And she said, John T, they've been back, and they've been raping Buttercup. He said, yes, ma'am, I understand. And she said, you see it? And looking at me, and I was like, I don't really know what I'm looking at. And she said, well, what are you going to do about it? She said, you need to get that semen out of Buttercup and take it and have it, the blood samples and DNA or blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what? And she said, get that semen out of her and collect it as evidence. I said, a lot of things are going to happen today, Miss Mary, but that ain't going to be one of them. She said, why? You don't want to do your fucking job. I said, this is not my job to collect semen out of Buttercup. I said, but wait. And then y'all realize she's about to go off again. And John T's standing there. He's trying not to laugh. He's standing behind her back. And I said, okay, Miss Mary, this is what I'm going to do. I said, I'm going to write everything up in a report. I'm going to give you a file number, and I'm going to send the report to the detectives, and we're going to get a veterinary detective specialist who is a professional at collecting semen out of horses that have been raped, and we're going to get them in touch with you.
Hey, y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped.
That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glace, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gaba will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/real life. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had.
Lowe's knows you want to get even more value for the holiday. That's why as a MyLowe's Rewards member, you get new member deals on holiday decor, tools, and more. And you earn points when you shop. More points equal more rewards to help you save on holiday and more. Not a member? Join for free today at Lowe's.com/MyLowe's Because Lowe's knows deals. Program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. See Lowe's.com/terms for full details. Subject to change.
She said, well, I can't ask for more than that. She said, you could have done it. I said, I don't have the skill set to get semen out of a horse, Miss Mary. And I said, but I'll do that. We'll get you a specialist. Now, I'm kind of poking fun at her, but I just want to get the fuck away from her too, right? And John T's trying not to laugh. And it's one of the situations where I know if I look at him, make eye contact, and he looks at me, we're going to bust out laughing together. So we're standing in this horse field, and I call in. I said, 259, give me a file number. And they gave me the file number, and I took it and I wrote it on the back of my card, and then I wrote it down in my notebook, and I gave her my card. I said, Miss Mary, this is my card. This is your file number. You can call the detectives tomorrow morning and reference the file number, and they'll have somebody assign you a case, and they will get that specialist for you. And she said, well, I guess that's okay. And y'all get the fuck off my property. Come on, get out of here. I don't want to see y'all no more. And so we leave, and y'all, by this time, I'm like soaked, but pants wise, I'm soaked sweat wise. My vest, it's hot and everything. We go to leave, and we pull out, and I called in. I said 259. I'm 10-8 back in service, right? And then they immediately. John T and I pulled over, and he's got tears in his eyes. He's laughing so hard. He said, bro, we've been dealing with her forever. It's always somebody's fucking one of our animals, and they're trespassing on the property. He says she's crazy as shit. Her family won't do anything about her, but she's not crazy enough, to be locked up in a mental hospital. I said, that motherfucker came out with a gun. She almost got locked up in the morgue. He said, I get it. But he said, you're going to learn some of these people like this, right? And so they immediately call 259-3621. I said, go ahead. They said, you got a 12K holding at such and such, which was like 30 minutes away, all the way in Coyell. Now, 12K, y'all, is a locked vehicle. And one of Willie's, Sheriff Graves' deal was when you get your equipment, they gave you a Slim Jim. And that most departments didn't do this anymore. You had to call Papalaka or whoever, but Willie always saw it as a vote getter, right? You locked your keys in the car in Livingston Parish, you call a deputy, they would come and get that car open for you. Me, I'm not mechanically inclined, all right? I couldn't tell you the difference between a screwdriver and a hammer, much less I've never used a Slim Jim. And my brain just doesn't work like that, all right? So I said, okay, I'll be en route, and I'm turning my air conditioner blasting wide open, and I drive over. Now, the Slim Jim, y'all, is a long, thin piece of metal with like a hook on the bottom of it. But I say it's probably 2 inches wide, but they painted them, genius idea, I guess, brand recognition. They painted them Willie blue. I drive the distance to the residence. I get out, and people come out. Hey, the lady says, "Hey, I locked my keys in my car," and I'm like, "Okay, look," I said, "this is my first time doing this." I said, "But I'm gonna try." And so I slid the Slim Jim in on the driver's side door, and I get it in past the window thing, and something to do mechanically inside the door where you try to jimmy it up and down, and it'll pop the lock. I could see that I was hitting the lock thing. The knob thing was moving, but I couldn't get it. And it's hotter than fuck. And it's like, I don't know, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening. And I'm out there and I'm just trying. I tried to the point, y'all, I was sweating so bad that the Willie blue paint wore off of my hands. Okay. And John T called. He said, 361. I said, go ahead. He said, I've been there for like 15, 20 minutes. He said, you still on the 12K? I said, 10-4. He said, all right, I'm going to come help you. Because I told him, when they gave me that call, I said, I've never done one. And he'd been doing them for years. So he ends up showing up. By this time, I'm covered in the blue paint on my hands. He was like, come here, man. And opened up his trunk. And his shit's all neat and organized. His wife, I called her my work wife later on, Fritzy, had like paper towels hanging from a roll on a bungee cord and thing. He said, clean your hands up and shit. And he went over to the door. He said, you were doing it to the driver's side door? I said, yeah. He said, we never do it through the driver's side door because a lot of times we'll break the lock and we don't want them to not be able to get in the car. And I said, well, and I didn't know, right? I didn't have a fucking class on how to unlock a car. He walks over on the passenger side, slips this thing in 2 seconds, boop, boop, pops the door open. And guess what? They went to unlock, they got the keys and they went to unlock the driver's side door and I broke it. So this is my first day, y'all. And then they were like, the door won't open. I said, John T said, well, it may have got broken. Oh, they had to sign a waiver ahead of time saying that, if we effed it up, that they wouldn't sue or whatever. And most people do that. And well, guess what? I fucked her door up. Part of it, right? So fast forward a little bit more because we're running out of time. And I'll end the story. Go back 10-8, and we both have other calls catching wherever. And mine, I had to go back to Springfield for something, a 103D domestic or whatever it was. And I handled that call. By now, it's turning dark, all right? And then it got dark, and I went and called another call. It's probably like 10 o'clock at night or something like that. I'm still around the Springfield area for whatever reason. And y'all, in Springfield, they have an area called the Horseshoe, or the settlement, McCarroll Road, and that's where all the dope activity is. And I wasn't that far from there, and I hear Dennis Hill, who was, I think he was the chief of Springfield at the time, and I hear Springfield 1 or whatever that they call the unit, Springfield 1, Signal 18, McCarroll Road. And now McCarroll, that road, y'all, runs back to where that really bad area is, but it's dark. There's a few trailers on it. On the other end, closer to the river, there's nothing, right? You come off the bridge. If you're coming from Tangipahoa Parish into Livingston Parish, it's the first road on the right, just past the bridge. It kind of falls down around the river. And that's where he was. He said Signal 18, which means traffic stop, on Louisiana plate, and he gave the license plate. He said at least 4 black males in the car. And now, drug area, et cetera, and he gets out on them. If you're close, you're going to roll that way anyway to just give them backup in case. And I was kind of close, maybe 10 minutes away. And I started easing that away, and it wasn't 10 seconds later. And he said, one's running. And he said, shots fired. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. Now, I get to turn on my lights and sirens, right? I'm fucking hauling ass. And I said, 361's en route. And I'm hauling ass and everybody's rolling. They 1033 the net for them and everything else. And by the time I got there, Danny was actually the supervisor was already there. I came in from the Tangipahoa side of the road, and he was like, "Stop right there!" And he said, "I want you to park your unit right here." And he said, "You stay out on foot, get your shotgun out, stay out on foot." He said, "We got one that's on foot." He said, "Dennis made the signal 18 on the car, and the driver got out and he's going to go approach him. The driver got out and fired at him 3 times. Thank God he didn't hit him, but he hauled ass in the woods, and Dennis went to run after him, and the other 3 males in the car sped off, right? So we had the license plate. I was to shut down the road on this end. He said, nobody gets in unless it's detectives or whatever, or the K9's going to come and all that. And he said, you got to stand right here. And he said, do not sit in your car because he could come up on you and shoot you in your unit. And I'm like, fuck. So it's hot now. Hot Louisiana summer night. I'm now standing on the side of the river basically it's a bayou. And it's everything's still wet from the rain earlier. And look, the mosquitoes were so fucking bad. That was one of the lessons I learned that night. Don't ever go 10-8 without off or DEET. And I'm standing out there, and it went on for hours. Everybody comes in. They set up a perimeter. They called out the SRT team. Brought in the K9. And they're trying to do a track. What am I doing? I'm standing in the dark where, basically in the woods on the edge of the bayou, leaning against a tree, getting my ass tore up by mosquitoes for hours and hours till like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. They finally called it off. K9 couldn't find, the bad guy. I mean, he's in the swamp somewhere. K9 couldn't find him. They finally just called it off. We didn't have a helicopter or thermal imaging or any of that stuff. But by this time, I was tore the fuck up. I hadn't had anything to drink. I hadn't had anything to eat. The mosquitoes, I bet you there wasn't a place on my body, unless it was underneath my bulletproof vest, that I wasn't eaten up by fucking mosquitoes. And finally, they called it off, and Danny said, he said, he pulled up and he was like, "Hey man, you did a good job, and I appreciate you, and sorry about you having to draw down on Miss Mary earlier and all that." And Danny was a super cool guy, and I think he's still with the sheriff's office. And he would later on be a detective and then go back out on the road as supervisor again. And he looked at me, he said, "Man," he said, "you ate the fuck up with the mosquitoes." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm out here on a manhunt, right? And I'm listening in case this guy comes to sneak up." I said, "You said don't sit in the car." He's like, "Bruh," he said, "I could have got you some relief or something." He said, "Look, why don't you just go on home?" He said, "You got to qualify again today anyway, don't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Why don't you take this last hour and go on home? I'll get you covered for the night." And so I did, and drove back probably 30 minutes to my apartment in Independence. And I had like an adrenaline dump, right? And I felt like, just overcome, not with emotions, but just like a wash, right? I've been high to low, low to high, and being on that the manhunt all evening, not knowing if the dude's going to come up behind me. We know he shot at Dennis. And then, Dennis, you need to tell me whatever happened in that case, because I don't remember if you got a warrant for the person or whatever. But I'm riding that emotional high with that roller coaster coming down off of it on my drive back to Independence. And I came to the realization that being 10-8 for the first time, I realized that I was now a part of the greatest show on earth. And the reason I didn't become a lawyer, because I don't want to sit behind the same desk every day and push papers and do the same thing over and over again, like I kind of ended up doing in my years with the state police. sitting behind the desk. I hated that. I was part of the greatest show on earth, and you never knew what you were going to get from 1 minute to the next, right? So anyway, old school story. Thought I would tell you all that. I was thinking about it. I was like, what's the old school? I could tell them, try to give them a taste of what it's like to actually work uniform patrol, you know? And so, but the next day I did go back and I qualified. I shot like a 119 out of 120, you know, on the range and all that. And the rest is history. Here I am all these years later. But y'all, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know it's a little bit different, and I appreciate you listening, liking, sharing. If you get a chance, go leave me a review on iTunes. It helps the show. We've been consistently ranked at the top of the charts for like 3 weeks now. I'm going to talk about Miss Barbara Blunt. Miss Barbara Blunt, y'all, murderversary was Tuesday, a week ago today when you're getting this episode, and it's 15 years, y'all. And I've been remiss. I hadn't, it's not that I hadn't been working and I hadn't been getting tips and stuff, because we have. And as recently as a couple months ago, we even, I didn't go with them, but one of the tips y'all called in about where Miss Barbara's body may be. The sheriff and them went out with cadaver dogs and all that, and you know, just wasn't meant to be. But we want to kick it off to a new level. There's new information in the case, and I can't say what it is, but I need y'all to call in your tips. And we set up a new tip line for Real Life Real Crime. It's 313-757-2847. Okay, or 313-RLRC tip. Y'all, there's no such thing as a perfect crime, certainly not a murder. And they took Miss Barbara. Yes, we don't have her body, but I'm telling you, she's been murdered. She was abducted and murdered. And I'm not going to tell you the reasons I think at this point, but somebody knows something. Her body did not disappear. She wasn't murdered without somebody doing it to her. And they, or whomever, had to take her body from point A to point B. Okay. And they had to do something with it. Somebody knows something. What if it was your mama, your grandmother, your daughter, your family member? You've heard something. And thank you so much for everybody that calls in your tips and everything. You can remain anonymous, and I don't have to tell Sheriff and them who called it in. I'll take it to my grave. Or you don't say your name when you call it in. Or, listen, no tip is unimportant. Every one of them is important, and we need them. And yours might be the one little thing that gives us that probable cause or proves it beyond a reasonable doubt. Bad guys or girls, we're coming for you. And Sheriff R released a statement last Tuesday about having new information and all that. Y'all, you can never have too much information. Keep calling it in. Let's bring Miss Barbara Blunt home to her family. Very, very important, right? It's the only, and it wasn't my case. I wasn't there when it happened, but it's, to this date, knock on wood, it's the only homicide that I've actively worked on and pursued and used y'all to do that I haven't solved. Okay? Let's bring her home. Call the tip line. Real Life Real Crime Daily. Such a success, y'all. Y'all loving it so much. We've been doing 3 drops a week. Now we're going to 4 starting this week. So every day, for 5 days a week, you're getting Real Life Real Crime. 4 Real Life Real Crime daily shows. 1 original Real Life Real Crime, which is what you're listening to now. So Hope you enjoy it. Patrons, convicts, subscribers, thank you so much. You help make the show run. If we owe you something, hit us up. Otherwise, I hope you're enjoying your perks and you look for your next bonus episode soon. And the Real Life Real Crime Community app, go download it for free. I have so many different social media pages, y'all, and I can't keep up with all the onslaught of messages. But I check the Real Life Real Crime Community app first every day, and I answer everybody there first. And then if I have time, I answer. Like the crew page is over 40,000 members now on the Facebook. That's one out of like 8 that I have. And so if you'll help me, if you have a case, and I'm getting like 30 a day now since Dateline, if you have a case that you want me to look at or whatever, email me, woody@realliferealcrime.com. You need to give me as much information as you can. I don't have time to go research every one of these cases, y'all. If you have the whole case file, give me the whole case file. I'll read it. If I can't promise I'm going to work it, but I will. I can maybe give you some advice on it or whatever. And I am going to be working some of these, but you just can't send it to one of my social media pages and think that I'm going to get it or send it. Have you ever heard about the case of so-and-so? And I'm like, nope. Not all omnipresent and shit on every murder that ever happened in the history of the world. You got to give me information, people. But email it to me, and I'll look at it. LOPA, Louisiana Organ Procurement Agency, you know it's my jam. All you new lifers, become a hero. You don't have to be from Louisiana to sign up to be an organ donor. Go to lopa.org. You could be from Belize. All right. And you want to be an organ donor, go to lopa.org, take 2 minutes, fill it out, sign it up, be a hero, give the gift of life. Y'all go check out Shane McBride and Missy Jules' YouTube channel where they're talking about LOPA every week. I'm a guest on one of those episodes. Go check it out. Yeah. Be a hero, give the gift of everything. Right. And I'm Woody Overton, your host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast. Until next time or ever, don't let me catch you down on Murder Bayou. Peace.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney prior to or during any question. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Do you understand your rights?
When the wolf is at your door.